Hey y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and on this episode, we're going to review WrestleMania 35. With that being said, before we jump into this, I'm also going to talk about where my predictions were and how I did. And if you haven't seen any of my videos before, I rate everything on a 1 to 5 scale. 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Let's jump right in with the first match of the night from the pre-show. Buddy Murphy versus Tony Nese for the Cruiserweight Championship. I thought this was a really good match. I think they need to, at some point, give the Cruiserweights a shot on the main shows. I'm tired of seeing them on the pre-shows and being one of the better matches of the night. I was a little bit surprised. I expected Buddy Murphy to retain the title here, but Tony Nese picks up the win. Not that he's not deserving. I give the match a 4. I thought it was a good match to start with, and I picked this wrong, so I'm starting off 0-1. Now next up, we have the Women's Battle Royal, and to talk about the Hall of Fame and mention what they said there, I agree with DX. It should be renamed the China Memorial Battle Royal, especially since the André's for the 8th Wonder of the World. This could be for the 9th Wonder of the World. I thought this was cool. There's a lot of missed and botched spots and a lot of missed time spots. I felt like Asuka was going to win it. And then when they got to the point where it looked like Sarah Logan won, I thought that was really cool, a different way to go. Maybe they were going to use that to split the Riot Squad, but we see that Carmella didn't get eliminated, so she ends up coming in and eliminating Sarah Logan. For all the botches there were and the missed opportunities, and I don't think they're going to do anything with Carmella coming off of this, especially since she's in a comedy act right now. I'm going to give this a 2. I picked it wrong. I picked Asuka to win, so I'm 0-2 to start off the show. Not going in the right direction. Next up we have for the Raw Tag Team Championship, the Revival versus Curt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. I'm sorry, I'm very tired. It's right after the show. This was another good match. Not a great match, though. I kind of felt like there was nothing special to this other than it being a tag team championship match and being on WrestleMania. It felt like a match we could have seen on any Raw or any SmackDown anytime during the year. It was a good match. Good spot to end the streak of Hawkins losing. Hawkins and Ryder pick up the win to become new champions. A good feel-good moment for the hometown kids. I give this one a 3. I picked this one correctly, so I'm getting off the schneid. I'm 1-2 at this point. I don't know. I just felt like maybe it could have been built up better. Maybe that was part of the reason I didn't enjoy it as much. Now next up, the final match of the pre-show, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. This was a little bit less of a clusterfuck than the Women's Battle Royal was, but it still was a cluster. Some really weird decisions were made in this. Luke Harper just showing up in the Battle Royal. I think they've dropped the ball several times now with Luke Harper. I think he's someone that they could do something with, but they, for whatever reason, choose to do absolutely nothing with him. We see the Michael Che and Colin Jost try to come in and eliminate Braun Strowman while he's trying to eliminate the Hardy Boys. He gets the Hardy Boys out, then he gets them out. I thought that segment took a little bit long. Braun picked up the win. I was wrong here. I thought either someone like Rob Gronkowski was going to win, or if it was going to be a wrestler, it'd be Kevin Owens. So right now I'm sitting at 1-3. Didn't do well predicting the pre-show at all, so maybe my luck will get better as we go into the main show. Next up, to start the show, we have Alexa Bliss, the host of WrestleMania, and she comes out introduces us to Hulk Hogan. She says, I'm going to snap and make a WrestleMania moment. And out comes Hulk Hogan. While they're doing their poses, Paul Heyman comes out and says, if Brock Lesnar's not going to be in the main event, he wants to be on first so he could get out of here and he could go to Vegas and go where he's ultimately appreciated, which was a nod to him going to UFC. We start off with the Universal Championship as the first match of the pay-per-view, Brock Lesnar versus Seth Rollins. I thought this was a good match. I liked how the match was worked. I like how these two work with each other. Seth picks up the win. This was the one I thought if Vince McMahon was not going to give us what we wanted, I thought this was where he was going to do that, especially once I seen it was the first match. I was a little bit worried that Seth wasn't going to win, but he did. I give the match a 4. I thought it was really good, actually. And that puts my predictions at 2 and 3. I picked Seth correctly to win. So I'm starting to get back onto track. Now, next up, we have AJ Styles versus Randy Orton. I think this was one of the better matches of the night. I liked it a lot. I'm a big fan of both these guys. I think they're both immensely talented wrestlers. It was pretty well done. I wish there was more. It meant more. I wish there was more carried. Maybe they could have made this a number 1 contender match. Something to that nature with two guys of this stature. I feel like something could have been on the line here, but it wasn't. Ultimately, they put on a really good match. AJ picked up the win. I was wrong. I picked Randy to win. I give the match a 4. I thought it was really good. My predictions are sitting at 2 and 4 at this point. Next up, we had Lacey Evans do her thing, come out and do whatever she does. Who knows where that's going? I don't know. At this point, I think they've milked it too long. It's kind of like the Brodus Clay thing where they went too long, and then when they finally introduced him, it was a big letdown. Or the Emelina thing, which was similar to this. Or even the what's her name? All Red girl. I'm very tired, I'm sorry. But, again, it's one of these things where I think they're milking this a little bit too long. Enough already. Let's get her in the ring. Coming from that, we have the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match. We have the Usos versus Ricochet and Aleister Black versus the Bar versus Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev. And I counted at least 5 guys in this match that should be contending for world championships, and probably 6. I honestly, everybody except the Usos, which I think are meant to be a tag team, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I think they do wonders for the tag team division, having a team as great as the Usos there, but the other 6 guys are really singles wrestlers that have been forced into teams because they have nothing better to do with them right now. And all 6 of them could easily have been in a title match on this show. Just my opinion. I thought this was a pretty good match. Again, I liked it. There was some good about it. It was fast-paced. There was fun spots to it. The 4-way didn't give us any real breaks in the action. It was action, action, action the whole way. Usos retained their tag championship. I was corrected in my picks on this. I picked the Usos to win, so I'm at 3 and 4 now. I give the match itself a 4. I thought it was rather good, to be honest with you. I like this. This was probably my favorite of all the tag team matches on the night, or tag team championship matches on the night. Next up, we get our Hall of Fame spot where all the Hall of Fame guys and girls come out and do their thing to wave to the crowd. Went a little bit longer. DX was a little bit all over the place. Kind of felt like if I was one of the other inductees, I'd be a little bit upset that DX upstaged everybody, but that's just me and how I seen it. Coming from that, we go to our next match, which is Shane McMahon versus The Miz in a Falls Count Anywhere match. This match, I wanted to like it more than I did. I wanted to give it all the chances I could. It just didn't work for me. I'm wondering, why, and I'm trying to think of why, and I thought the match was built good. I think the two guys in the match could have carried it better. Just for some reason, it fell flat, in my opinion. To me, I didn't think this match delivered on what it could have been. Shane McMahon picks up the win. I got the pick wrong. I picked The Miz to win here. Now I'm 3-5, 3 correct and 5 wrong. I think the match itself was right middle of the road. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. Like I said, it kind of fell a little bit flat in my opinion. And we'll talk about that later in juxtaposition to our other, basically, no rules, no disqualification match on this night. Next up, we have for the Women's Tag Team Championship, the Boss and Hug Connection versus Beth Phoenix and Natalya Neidhart versus the Iconics versus Nia Jax and Tamina. This match I liked. I thought it was good. I thought it was really good, actually. I didn't think it was quite as good as the four-way SmackDown match, but this had all the same elements as that match. It had the same kind of fast pace, high spot heavy, different kinds of offense, different kind of wrestling going on here, different spots, and showcasing everybody's abilities. One of the things that bothered me during the match is that Beth and Natalya did the heart attack, which is the Heart Foundation move, but they did it really early in the match and didn't even try for a pin. So basically, you're telling me that one of the greatest tag teams of all time, their finisher is nothing but an early match setup move. I didn't like that. Just how I feel, to be honest with you. I thought this was a solid match. I really liked it. Probably almost as good as the SmackDown tag match. Better than the Raw Tag Championship match. I'm going to give the match a 4. I'm going to be a little bit generous on this. I picked the match correctly. The Iconics did win, and that's who I picked to win. So I'm sitting at 4-5 on my predictions. Starting to do a little bit better. Which leads us into one of the matches I was worried about. And that's Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship. I had a feeling somewhere on this card that Vince McMahon was going to take something nice away from us. He gave us a lot of nice things, and I felt like he wasn't going to give us all the results that we would want. And I actually was surprised, and pleasantly I was wrong on this one. This was a fantastic match. This, to me, was my favorite match of the night. I thought this was the best match they had on the card. I thought it was really good. I think the two guys worked extremely well with each other. Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan, two top-notch wrestlers as it is. I thought they did fantastic here, especially highlighting and juxtaposing where Daniel Bryan was Kofi Kingston a few years ago, and now Kofi Kingston's in the spot that Daniel Bryan was at, fighting against all the odds and overcoming the odds. Kofi picks up the win, giving us the feel-good moment that I believe everybody in the world wanted. I picked this one right. I picked Kofi to win. I give the match itself a 5. Now I'm sitting at 5 correct and 5 wrong, right in the middle. Ultimately, I was very happy that Kofi picked up the win. I think everybody in the world was. Just a good feel-good moment on the show. Next up, we see Michael Che and Colin Jost, and they're in the training room with Alexa Bliss. And we meet the doctors who are Hall and Nash, aka the Outsiders. Pretty cool little spot there. Nice little throwaway thing. Nice little fun thing to break up the action a bit. Make us, I guess not so worn out, even though it was starting to really wear on me at least, and probably several other people that were watching. But I thought it was cool. Next up, we have for the United States Championship, and this is what I thought was weird. The two main titles were defended before the Intercontinental or the U.S. title was, which I thought was kind of interesting and different, and I don't remember ever seeing that on a WrestleMania or many other cards, to be honest with you. The only thing I could think of is the SummerSlam that Brett defended the Intercontinental title against Bulldog. But that's not when we had two world championships and 2 mid-card championships. It was a little different time. But I digress. We have Samoa Joe defending the U.S. title against Rey Mysterio. I thought this was going to be an okay match. They obviously had to pull an audible because of Rey's injuries. They made it a quick match. Joe picks up the win rather quickly. I'm going to give the match a 2 because there wasn't much of anything. I really can't give it even an okay grade because there was nothing really to grade. It almost feels like I should give it an incomplete. I did pick the outcome right, so I'm at 6 and 5 right now. I'm a little bit over the 500 level, which makes me feel good about my picks. And I'm sorry, as you can hear, my throat's getting a little bit scratchy. I'm coming down with a little bit of cold, so give me a second. Just some water there. Next up, we have Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre. Probably the match that everybody in the world correctly picked. I don't think anybody expected Drew to win here. I don't think Drew expected Drew to win. I really think that they would have messed up badly if they had Drew McIntyre beat Roman Reigns here. On his first singles match coming back from leukemia, even the most ardent of Roman Reigns haters had to be like, okay, he has to win here. I thought this was a solid match. I thought it was okay. You could obviously see that Roman isn't quite where he was before he left, which he'll get there. He'll get back to being a solid wrestler. I thought this match was good, not great. Roman obviously picks up the win. I'm going to give the match a 3 out of 5. I'm going to give it a pass because I think we're going to see better things from Roman. And hopefully this is just a stepping point in this feud. I'd like to see this feud continue. Which gives it to me, I picked this one correctly. So I'm sitting at 7 right and 5 wrong at this point. We're coming back here. After the really, really sad beginning I had on the pre-show, starting to get a lot more predictions correct now. Next up, we have our Elias concert, which everybody thought would be interrupted. Most people thought by the Honky Tonk Man, which made a lot of sense. But it's not interrupted by the Honky Tonk Man. It's interrupted by another singing wrestler gimmick, and that is the Doctor of Thugonomics O2 version John Cena. Full-out battle rapping, the John Cena that everybody fell in love with, that everybody was a fan of before he became the polarizing John Cena. And for one night only, he pulled out the AA was retired and the FU came back. Just a cool little spot. And who would have thunk even 2 years ago that John Cena would have the cool little spot on WrestleMania that everybody loved? It just goes to show you, sometimes you just need to go away for a little bit for the fans to remember why you were special in the first place. Coming off of that, we go right, and that was really good that they put that little comedy bit there, because next up we have a really violent match. And that's basically a no disqualification match. Triple H's career on the line. Triple H versus Dave Batista. I loved this match. I liked this a lot. Probably my second favorite match of the night, right behind Kofi and Daniel Bryan. I thought this was good. There was some, again, much like I said with Roman, you could see where it's been a while since Batista's been in a ring. And he did mess up a couple times. There were a couple botches. I'm leaning towards forgiving him because it's been a couple of years since he stepped into a ring. And on a high-profile match like this, I thought it was particularly good. I liked that they ramped up the violence. I liked that everything seemed so important and so hard-hitting. I liked the fact that both guys tried to basically murder each other. It was a really good match, and it really delivered on what it was supposed to be, on the gimmick. Triple H picks up the win. I got this one incorrect. I thought Dave Batista would win. Ric Flair came out towards the end of the match to help Triple H win. So I'm sitting at 7 correct and 6 wrong. I give the match itself a 5. I thought it was probably, in my opinion, it's the second best match of the night. Now, next up, we see Alexa Bliss with the B team, and they're hawking Daniel Bryan Championship merchandise at a discount, which brings us a Ron Simmons spot. Who doesn't love Ron Simmons spots? He says his famous, "Damn." And then we go on, and that, I know that was a terrible Ron Simmons impersonation, but hey, the best I could do with a sore throat and kind of losing my voice. So, that is what I got. Going from that, we have Kurt Angle's final match of his career against Baron Corbin, and yes, they kept it as Baron Corbin and Kurt Angle. They didn't pull a switcheroo. They didn't switch out John Cena or The Rock or Stone Cold or The Undertaker or any of the other people that were rumored to take this spot instead of Corbin. I'm kind of okay with them keeping it at Baron Corbin. And I think that there's some people in WWE that think very highly of Corbin. He's being put in a role where he's given every opportunity now to succeed. I'm not as negative on him as a lot of people are. There's a lot of people that are very negative on Baron Corbin. I think he's a decent character, and I think he's improving. And he's someone I watched since his very early NXT days. Hell, I even remember him when, before they were really using him on NXT, they would use him as the local jobber in NXT for a while. And I remember seeing him at, like, local house shows as a nobody, losing to guys like Ty Dillinger and Tyler Breeze and Jason Jordan and them. And then he became what he became later on. So, to see him come from that, I kind of want the guy to succeed. I don't hate him. I don't think he's the best wrestler in the world. He's a good personality. He fit into that Constable role. So maybe it's something they could bring back. I don't know. Just my opinion. I thought this was a decent match. I definitely could see where it's time for Curt to hang it up. He's not the Kurt Angle of 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. He's definitely slowed down a bit, and he's not the all-time great that he once was, and he couldn't pull a great matchup out of a lesser wrestler at this point, which is something we would have expected from a younger Kurt Angle. So I think this is the timing on him retiring is correct. He did the thing that I figured he would. He put Baron Corbin over on the way out. Baron Corbin picked up the win. I was correct in my prediction. I did predict that Corbin would win this, so I'm sitting at 8 correct and 6 wrong. I give the match a 3. I thought it was okay. Could have been better. I don't really think we're going to remember this among some of the classic Kurt Angle matches or some of the classic final matches of a wrestler's career or a really great wrestler's career. Just, to me, it fell a little flat. With that being said, we go into our Intercontinental Championship match. Bobby Lashley defending against the Demon Finn Bálor. I'm torn with this because I hate the way they commentate on the Demon. Like, I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to over-explain it to you. Why the Demon's special, that the Demon comes from a dark place. I get it. But all you really have to show to convey that is that entrance. That entrance is fantastic, especially in a setting like WrestleMania. It felt really special, and I really enjoyed that. And I kind of, one of my little pet peeves of WWE is that they kind of keep him in this somewhat Venom/Carnage look, and he kind of changes that around a bit. Whereas when he was Prince Devitt, it wasn't necessarily one specific look he would paint himself as. He would do Venom, he would do the Joker, he did Darth Maul once. I mean, it was different looks and different color schemes. And I know why they do it. It's so they could sell the merchandise and keep selling the same merchandise. So it makes a little sense that all of his Demon appearances are somewhat similar. But I kind of wish they would let him just go and be different and weird at times and change it up a bit, change the color scheme. Just my opinion. Back to the match itself. I thought this was a really good match. I think this is the best match these two have had so far. I like the fact that Bobby Lashley wasn't afraid of the Demon. But, why is his name not coming to me right now? Lio Rush. Bobby Lashley wasn't scared of the Demon, but Lio Rush was very afraid of the Demon, so I like that little element of it. I thought that was a cool thing to add in there. Finn Balor picks up the win, which is kind of what I would expect here. I'm going to give the match itself a 4. I thought it was pretty good. Probably the best match these two have had, in my opinion. And overall, a solid match. Now, last but not least, we have the main event of the night, the historic main event that's been pounded into our head for the last 2 months on how historic this is going to be. Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch for both the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships in a winner-take-all situation. I liked this match. I thought it was good. I like the touch with Charlotte coming in a helicopter, kind of like Ric Flair at Great American Bash back in the 80s. She even had similar to Ric's gear where she was wearing the powder blue with purple boots, kind of like Ric wore back in the day, which it was a nice touch, a nice homage for us older fans without them beating us over the head with it. Becky Lynch looked great in her gear, her somewhat Jean Grey / the bride from Kill Bill look that she's got going on. Ronda Rousey coming out with Joan Jett. I thought that was really cool. I love Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. I like Joan Jett as a runaway, which is the name of the band she started in. I think that was a cool spot, seeing someone that was a runaway in a punk band called the Runaways playing at WrestleMania. I never thought I would see that. So, a cool little thing there. The match itself I thought was pretty good. Charlotte, her Spanish fly that she pulls out, I think is fantastic. Ronda was a little messy at times. You could definitely see how green she is even now a year into her career. Becky did awesome. Her offense looked believable. Her fire was good. Like, she had a good babyface fire to her. Like, her comebacks looked like they were real important and really going to attack. Ronda looked like she was a threat. Her feats of strength during the match were really spectacular, especially when she had the triangle on both of them and they both had to powerbomb her 3 times to get her off of them. It was a pretty good match, pretty solid. The ending, however, was a little bit weird. We see Ronda go for the move she calls the Piper's Pit, which Becky turns into a pin, and it doesn't look like Ronda's shoulders are down, or they may have been down and got up. A little bit of a controversial ending. I don't think it was supposed to end that way. I'm happy with the outcome because I did pick pick Becky Lynch to win, and Becky beating Ronda was the right thing to do here. And again, I picked Finn Balor in the last match. I'm sorry, I meant to say that. So I was at 9-6 on my picks. So I'm at 10-6 now. Over the whole show, I got 10 right, 6 wrong, which I'll take. That's pretty good. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I think Becky beating Ronda and winning this match was the right thing to do. Because if Ronda's leaving, it gives us a reason to continue the Becky Lynch-Charlotte Flair feud. Also, her beating Ronda, it just makes her look better because it makes her look like she beat the stronger of the two opponents. The thing I don't like is if you're going to make her the face of the company, she probably should have beat Ronda with the disarmer or pinned her after a Bexploder instead of having a fluke roll-up pin that is now going to be questioned because it didn't look proper at the end of it. just a little pet peeve. Overall, I give the match a 4. I thought it was solid. Little problems like the ending. But overall, we got to the ending that we wanted. We got the story that we wanted from the match. So, can't really take too much away from it. I think the night, overall, WrestleMania was really solid. The problems that we had with it were the problems I knew we were going to have. It was long. It was arduous. At times it drug. At times I got so tired. I felt myself starting to fade into sleep and kind of snapping right back to being awake. They need to trim down WrestleMania. We can't do a 16-match card. Some people just don't deserve a WrestleMania spot. And I know that sounds mean, but there's too much. There's too much. They should have trimmed half of this down, and I could have lived with a 12-match WrestleMania card, trim 4 of these matches off, trim an hour and a half off of it, give us a 5-hour show instead of a little over 7-hour show, and it might have been better, in my opinion. It detracted from it, not a lot, in my opinion, because I think the show overall was really good. Like I said, there's some of the problems were problems we knew that we were going into it. I'm a little bit pleasantly surprised that most of the matches seemed to go the way to make the fans happy, as opposed to them just doing whatever the hell they wanted. I figured out of the three title matches, Seth versus Brock, Bryan versus Kofi, and the women's 3-way, that one of those 3 would not go the way that the fans wanted, and all 3 went the way the fans wanted. So I was a little bit pleasantly surprised with that. Overall, I did enjoy this card, and I enjoyed this WrestleMania. I don't know if we're going to look at it as a historically great WrestleMania. I think we're going to go back to moments, Becky winning, Kofi winning, the Dr. Thugonomics moment. We're going to come back to those in the future. But I don't think it's going to be one of those WrestleManias that's thought of as one of the all-time greats. I think it might be in the top 10, but probably 10. If I'm going off the top of my head, there's probably about 10 Manias that are better than this. It's definitely a good Mania, better than last year's, better than the year before, which was when I was at. So, yeah, it was. I liked it overall. Overall, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I think the enjoyment level was there. If they could have trimmed it down, I think the show would have been a 5 out of 5. And I think a lot of my problems would have went away, and I wouldn't be so critical on a lot of this if I wasn't so cranky from being tired. So, I know that sounds weird, but it's true. When you're not happy, you don't look at things as positively as you would when you are happy. Just saying. And I can't imagine how it felt for the people at Well, I can, because I was there 2 years ago. And by the time we got to the main event 2 years ago, I didn't even care about seeing The Undertaker at WrestleMania. I stayed for it because it was The Undertaker at WrestleMania, but I was more in the mode of, I hope this is a quick match so I could get home and go to bed. And I guarantee that's how the people at this felt like. And you could tell in the crowd. By the end of the night, the crowd was dying out, and they weren't giving as big of pops as they were in the beginning of the night. But basically, that's my opinion on all this. My name is George Coles, and this is my review of WrestleMania 35.